Hello friends, I'm Heather Almorjo. This is take 2 of me talking about why I am so inspired to create this social enterprise, Na'a Foodscapes. Why I think it's important to design with Indigenous ethics, whether it's a garden or a memorial or a piece of artwork. I feel it's really important to come at it from that perspective, and I just want to give you some background on why. So we can trace back my furthest ancestors. Pierre-Jean Frogue, 1573, died 1653, from Montreuil in France, and that's like south of France area. 2 generations later, his grandson, Jean-Pierre Frogue de Montreuil, 1637, and he came to Canada in 1665. So that is 352 years ago, my ancestor came to what is now known as Canada. Francois Baptiste Montreuil was born in Quebec in 1793. He was the first one to take on the Montreuil name. He was the very first. That was where the name was created. It is a created last name. And it's a combination of Montreuil, the region in France, and him being my first settler ancestor being a redhead, and they call him Montreuil, like a carrot top is the basic slang. His wife was Isabella Taylor, who was a Métis woman of Scottish and Swampy Cree ancestry, also known as Home Guard Cree. So they came together and made my great-great-grandfather, who is Baptiste Montreuil. Baptiste was a Métis man. He married 2 First Nations women, the first being Colette Kinbasket, the second being Teresa Cayuse. She was a Kootenai woman believed to actually be descended from the Cayuse tribe. There's some family lore around that. They were a pioneering couple. They were merchants. They facilitated trade back and forth between First Nations people and settlers. So they would buy supplies from both sides and travel and bring them back and forth. Baptiste spoke 7 languages, so French, English, and 5 different dialects of First Nation language. Teresa, being a First Nations woman, had a lot of medicines and teachings that she carried on to her family as well. And they are honored in the Golden Museum as Métis merchants, and they have made a huge contribution to the Western area and the Rockies area, because that is what helped define this nation. And so for me, as I'm going forward, I look at the world right now and I see climate change, I see poverty, I see lack of access to good food, I see health problems, which could be connected to petrochemical fertilizers and pesticides, and a lack of nutrients in the soil, lack of diet appropriate to our location. I see a lot of people who are just really struggling with a sense of identity and a connection to any sort of spirituality that represents them. And I see people who have addiction, I see people who have mental health issues, and I feel like I have an ability to design solutions, real, viable solutions that can build community, create wholesome, nourishing ecosystems in our urban settings. And so that's why I'm so driven to do this. And I try and activate that DNA within me that comes from my ancestors that are just standing right behind me. And I just say, you once pioneered this nation. You helped facilitate the merchant exchange of those who could supply and those who needed across the boundaries of race and culture to help build this nation. And there's no doubt that there is atrocities that happened, and denial of heritage, and violence and genocide. There is no argument about whether or not that happened in my mind. What I see now moving forward is solutions. I've identified 11 ways which I personally feel that Foodscape. 94 calls to action. I found 11 that I feel I can personally contribute to. And so it's exciting for me, and it's terrifying because I don't know if anyone else will look at me and say, yeah, that's a good solution. Or if it's such a niche market, then no one will want it, right? Or if it's coming from someone that no one would take seriously. Because I do cross boundaries and I do have limitations and barriers to my abilities and inabilities. But I just really want to talk about Baptiste Morisot and Teresa Cayuse and my great-grandfather Octave, my grandfather Ralph, my dad Dale, and following that line all the way from France into my blood is really important for me moving forward. And that is only a sliver. I haven't even touched my grandmother's side. I have thousands of grandmothers on both my father and my mother's side, and I'm not even going to start on that because I could go on for hours and no one will watch it because your attention span stops at like 4 minutes online. So thank you for watching this far.